God bless you guys. Dios les bendiga a todos. Les queremos dar las gracias a todos ustedes que nos apoyan. Gracias por su cariño, gracias por su amor, que nos apoyan y comparten nuestro contenido cada viernes que nos unimos con ustedes. Les queremos dar las gracias y esperamos que nuestro contenido ha sido de bendición para cada uno de ustedes.
We also want to let you guys know that we did make an Instagram account. It's TG Table Talks. You guys can DM us. We have our email there if you guys want to email us and reach out to us regardless of what it's about. So yeah, you guys can find us there, follow us, and keep sharing our content.
And also, if you missed last week's episode or just want to rewatch any of the previous ones, you could search us up on YouTube under IDPMIST Cloud FL.
See you next Friday.
Hope to see you there.
God bless you guys. Dios les bendiga.
God bless you guys. Welcome to our first episode of Table Talk for the year. I'm excited. I honestly haven't been in a Table Talk and it feels like 2 years.
Mm-hmm. You got that right.
I'm excited. Are you guys excited to be back finally?
Yeah. Honestly, yo estoy aquí como que no estoy nervioso, pero no estoy como que
You don't know what to say. You don't know how to talk in the microphone. It's just weird.
It's been a lot.
How do you feel, Crystal?
I feel like I'm awkward again, but we'll warm up.
That's never changed, so that's something that's consistent. Before we get started with the episode, we want to list all the transmissions that we're broadcasting through. So we're transmitting through Iglesia Pentecostal MI, Misaintcloud. That's one of our Facebook Live pages, as well as Angel Pastor Rosario, which is also Facebook Live. We're also transmitting through YouTube. If you want to follow us on YouTube, please feel free. We're transmitting through IDPMIST Cloud. We're also on the radio, so you can find us at Apocalypse Network Radio and Television in Orlando with our brother Raul Delgado. We're also transmitting through Alianza Christian Up Network and its affiliate radio stations, 87.9 FM, 690 AM, 1710 AM in Springfield, Massachusetts, as well as Radio Alabanza Viva in 1710 Bronson, Florida with our pastor Antonio Matos, as well as Tele Radio Luz 1710 AM in Pennsylvania with our pastor Pedro Cruz. We're also transmitting through TuneIn, Nobex Radio, RX Radio Brazil, Mobile Radio Box in Europe and Asia, and there are 40 platforms of broadcasting networks. So we're reaching the world. Something that we honestly thought wouldn't be such a big thing. We're just reaching a lot of people. And lastly, we're also broadcasting locally through Roku TV. Or if you don't have internet, you can always call the following number, 605-477-9394. Again, the number is 605-477-9394. So if you don't have internet, please call that number. You can enjoy the broadcast and God can minister to your life because that's what we're here for and that's what we want. Amen.
Amen.
Feels good. That felt good. That felt good.
That list does not get shorter.
Yeah. So, eso es como que... Yeah. Pero bueno, hay que hacerlo, ¿verdad? Porque hay que darle las gracias a todos ellos, ¿verdad? Que nos apoyan en esta programación. Y antes de continuar, ¿verdad? Como acostumbramos, vamos a hacer una oración, ¿verdad? Para que lo que se vaya a hablar hoy, que sea de impacto y que sea de bendición para aquellos que nos escuchen. Amen. Así que oramos. Amantísimo Dios y Padre Celestial, te damos la gracia y te damos la honra, mi Jesús, por este día tan hermoso, Padre. Te pedimos, mi Jesús, que lo que se hable, Señor Jesús, en esta tarde, viernes, mi Jesús, te pido que tu presencia y que tu poder, mi Jesús, Jehová, invada los hogares de aquellos que nos escuchan, mi Jesús, Jehová. Y te pido que en el nombre de Jesús, mi Jesucristo, Dios, que tú te presentes desde el principio hasta el final, mi Jesús. Te damos la gloria y te damos la gracia, Padre, porque tenemos el privilegio, Padre, y porque tenemos el honor, mi Jesús, de alcanzar vidas alrededor del mundo, mi Jesús, Jehová. Y te pido, mi Jesucristo, que tú te glorifiques, Padre, mi Jesús, de una manera especial y poderosa, mi Jesús. Utilízanos, Padre, y paz y carbón enseñado sobre nuestros labios, en nombre del Padre, del Hijo, del Espíritu Santo. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Well, it's
Amen.
good to be back.
Yes.
It's good to be back. Y
Yes.
como decía Chris, ¿verdad? Estamos alcanzando el mundo, que algo que nunca en verdad pensaríamos que íbamos a hacer, ¿verdad? Y yo me acuerdo cuando empezamos este programa el año pasado, fue un producto, ¿verdad?, de la pandemia, fue un producto de la necesidad de alcanzar a aquellas personas a través de las redes sociales, a través del internet, ¿verdad? Y a través de esa necesidad salió este programa, salió el programa de Entre Nosotros con nuestra amiga y evangelista Lulu, ¿verdad? Y también han seguido otros programas, ¿verdad? Que también la pastora inició, bueno, no es que inició, pero también está ahí con un programa, ¿verdad? Y le damos la gloria al Señor, ¿verdad? Por estos privilegios que Él nos está permitiendo, ¿verdad? De alcanzar aquella vida que nos escuchan todos los viernes, los martes, los jueves, los miércoles, los domingos, ¿verdad? Y yo creo que es una oportunidad excelente,
Yes.
que yo nunca en mi vida pensé
That we were gonna be here.
ya, nunca pensé que pues habríamos un programa de jóvenes, ¿verdad? Y me acuerdo que cuando me dijeron, mira, que van a haber un programa de jóvenes, ¿qué tú piensas? Yo dije, es rayo, y yo no sé, qué sé yo.
I don't know how to talk on the microphone.
Yeah,
so.
yo lo que sé es pues pararme aquí, cantar y seguirlo para adelante. Pero yo creo que, pues, como dije, una oportunidad que podemos aprovechar, ¿verdad? Que podemos aprovechar, y desde hasta el sol de hoy, ¿verdad? Ha sido de bendición, y hemos tenido aquí, ¿verdad? Varios recursos que hemos aprendido, ¿verdad? En la temporada del año pasado, ¿verdad? Tuvimos enfermeros, yo creo que uno de los últimos que tuvimos fue uno de los testimonios más impactantes, ¿verdad? Con nuestro amigo y hermano Ángel Colón, que compartió su testimonio de cuando él estaba en el mundo, de cuando él era parte de la comunidad LGBT, y que él estuvo en el nightclub del Pulse, y que él fue una víctima de uno de esos, y que él contaba que a uno de esos ahí el Señor lo rescató. Y yo creo que eso fue muy impactante, porque me acuerdo cuando estaba aquí con Iván, que cuando él contaba su testimonio, Iván estaba paralizado, Iván me miraba y me dice, bueno, ¿y qué hacemos ahora? Porque en verdad que nos quedamos con la boca abierta, en verdad nos quedamos sin hablar, nos quedamos sin palabras, porque ese testimonio en verdad fue de impacto. Y yo me acuerdo que muchos mensajes, recibimos mensajes de texto de que mira, ese testimonio estuvo bien impactante, que ese testimonio se han bien convertido gente, y pues en verdad pues ese es el propósito de este programa, ¿verdad? Alcanzar la vida, traer testimonios de que aquellas personas que nos escuchen, ¿verdad?, se han convertido, ¿verdad? Y pues aquí, como todos sabemos, hablamos el inglés y el español, ¿verdad? Hablamos el inglés y el español, ¿verdad? Y prontito hablamos más lenguaje. ¿Verdad? Pero aquí pues es un programa, ¿verdad? Si aquellos que se están conectando con nosotros por primera vez, esto es un programa auspiciado por los jóvenes de la Iglesia de Dios Pentecostal MI de SoundCloud, ¿verdad? Que nos conectamos todos los viernes de 12 de la tarde a 1 de la tarde, ¿verdad? Todos los viernes, ¿verdad? Y que usualmente se une conmigo mi hermana de Cristal Rivera.
Te bendiga.
Y también nuestro hermano Cris Olivo.
God bless you guys.
¿Verdad? Que los tres fuimos los que empezamos con esto, empezamos con esta renda.
Yes.
¿Verdad? Y se han unido más jóvenes, y ya en esta temporada, cuando empecemos a grabar más, van a haber más jóvenes, nuevas caras, nuevos testimonios, ¿verdad? Y estamos muy emocionados por esta segunda temporada de Table Talk,
It's
¿verdad?
a fresh start.
Después de un brequecito extensivo, ¿verdad? De unas vacaciones, ¿verdad? Larguitas.
Extensive.
Ya, la cogemos de larga.
A sabbatical.
Pero estamos aquí para decirle, we're back. We're finally back.
And esta nueva temporada is going to be of blessings. We've all talked a little bit about what it is that we want to bring. And there's new recurso, and there's a lot more testimonies, and a lot we kind of want to go deeper in this en esta temporada, and not just scrape the surface, but we've seen the impact that we've had throughout the world, and this is a ministry, whether some people might see it like that or not, and it's a ministry that God has placed in our hands, and it is our due diligence to do the most and the best that we can do with it. So I'm really excited for this. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, I'm excited for today's episode. We have somebody very special here.
Ooh.
Who is that?
Someone very special. I remember we filmed. You were our first guest.
Yes.
We filmed the first episode with the person I'm sitting next to, and we were having technical difficulties, so we weren't.
That's when we were starting.
That's
Yeah.
literally we didn't know what we were doing. That was the first episode, and I remember like, dang, people would have really enjoyed the story
Yes.
and the testimony and just everything that you have to bring. So
Thank you.
I'm glad that we're starting this year off with you.
No pressure.
There's no pressure. There's no pressure. No pressure. You got this. But we have my lovely sister Melissa Olivo here.
Thank you.
Yes, a round of applause, everybody. Insert applause.
Applause.
But I'm excited because I know that God is going to minister to a lot of people. I know He's going to minister to me because God knows what He's doing. So don't be nervous. It's okay.
I'm already.
You don't have to be nervous.
Girl, you got this.
You got this, okay? We're just going to ask you some simple questions. What's your social security number? How much did you get in your taxes
Don't
last
get
year?
much from there, no.
Okay.
She said, hasta que mi parte que se
Yeah,
llama.
right?
All right. Peace.
God bless you guys.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Literal.
Pero nada, bueno, vamos a empezar, ¿verdad? Vamos a rapidito, ¿verdad? Que ya es viernes, fin de semana, muchas personas están viendo este programa, and they're probably happy, it's like, woo, it's Friday. Vamos a refrescarnos, ¿verdad? Espiritualmente. Pero nada, vamos a llegar. Bueno, como dijo él, nuestra hermana Melissa Olivo. So tell us, who is Melissa? How did you get to the position that you are today? Like, how was your childhood growing up? Tell us a little bit about you, and concerns when you were growing up. How was it? Were you born en los pies del Señor, or stuff like that?
Yeah,
I can answer
definitely.
this for you, strict.
Yeah, you can.
That's
Yeah, it's very strict. Very strict.
Melly's time
This
very
is you.
strict.
This is you. Go ahead.
No, well, first, thank you for the opportunity.
Yes.
I really appreciate it. And I hope that I can be impactful to many people so that you can see that it's possible for you too. Like, that's my intention here. But I was actually raised in Pentecostal. I grew up my whole life. My parents, my brother can testify for that. We grew up in church. But, as I became a teen mom, I was 15 years old. And at that moment, that's kind of like when the transitioning kind of started happening in my life. My childhood was super fun. We traveled a lot. We had such a good time. Like, we'll come to Florida, which is why we end up moving here.
Must be nice.
It was very nice. You were very little. We would go to California. So my childhood, my parents are still together. So, my childhood was really good. It's pretty normal, But again, like when I became a teen mom, that's kind of when everything started kind of tumbling down a little bit. Not in too much of a negative way, like we all go through our experiences. But at that moment, I felt like a lot of hurt. I was confused. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to talk to. I felt like people would judge me. I was in the 9th grade carrying like this little belly. And I used to wear baggy clothes because I was so scared that people would just like, oh, what's wrong with her? Or just like say all of these negative things, things that kind of just go through your mind when you're in that process, when you're in that journey. You don't know what to expect. And as humans, we kind of just expect like all of these negative things. And so nothing, I end up, giving birth to a baby boy. He's now going to be 19 years old this year. And yes, to my son. Hopefully he sees this. But, through that, my parents end up coming over here to Florida. And when they moved here, that's kind of like when my life started to happen. That's when I started to just feel like a lot of hurt, a lot of pain. I felt angry. I felt neglected in a way. I felt just completely alone. I felt that I was, it got to a point where you guys were leaving, like I kind of felt like unworthy in a sense. Like I was unworthy of being in a position where I was able to keep my family. And all of these things that the enemy kept bringing into me. But thankfully, because I've always known about Christ, little by little, as I was getting older, the deeper I got into depression, the deeper I got into alcoholism and all of those things that we could talk about. But I always knew in my heart that there was something else. Like I always knew God always took me out of situations no matter what. As bad as I was, and as I used to act in pain and in hurt, and I used to yell at God so many times. We've had so many conversations, me and him. I used to get so angry, like why and why and why. And, you can never count the dots going back. You can count them forward. Yeah. And I think you kind of just go through everything so that I could be here today to kind of share that. But it's been a crazy ride. I went through like a 10 to 15 year depression. I started going back into church a few years ago when I started to come over here. But right prior to that is kind of when when you hit your rock bottom. There's always a moment in your life where you're like, okay, I've had it. Like enough is enough. I'm over it. I can't. And I'm going to be 100% transparent with you guys. But it was within that time frame that I started becoming addicted to antidepressants. Okay. And it was like one thing, then it wasn't enough. One wasn't enough. Two wasn't enough. Three wasn't enough. Then I would drink wine with it. Then I would drink, alcohol with it. And it was never enough. And I was trying to fill this void. And that's when my life kind of transitioned back into, I started feeding my mind a little more. I was dying for that change. And, when you want change in your life, doors start to open. People start coming into your life and start allowing you to kind of like lead that pack for you. And nothing, I got into health and fitness. That became my alternative. When I was angry, when I was depressed, I would just go work out. I would eat healthy. I started feeling good. I started getting back into church, and here I am.
Wow, glory to God, ¿verdad? ¿Verdad? It's good that you found a place, not just in church, but in the fitness, to get your mind out of those thoughts and, to be healthy as well, to be healthy. And that just shows también la importancia, ¿verdad? De nosotros, ¿verdad? Como todos sabemos, ¿verdad? Que el cuerpo es el templo del espíritu, ¿verdad? Y hay que mantenerlo saludable. Yo creo que es un buen ejemplo, ¿verdad? De que como nosotros, ¿verdad? Como no solamente cristianos, pero seres humanos deberíamos de, pues tú sabes, sacar un tiempo y alimentarnos bien y sacar un tiempo y pues tú sabes, ejercitar nuestro cuerpo. Así que I think that's really good. I want to go back a little bit. Sure. Volviendo a lo que tú has dicho, ¿verdad? Que when you were on 9th grade, que you had the little tummy. Whenever that tummy started to show a little bit more, did you get criticized by your family? Did they help you? Did they support you? And I know it's a little bit intimate.
No, it's fine.
In school, how did they see you? Did they push you to a side? Did they say, oh no, ella, on the weekends, we don't know where she goes, Right. So how was that as you that were starting off high school? Because I already know, high school, it's like...
It's already hard.
That's
brutal.
Yeah, that's brutal. So
it is.
How was high school for you, Did you have a lot of friends? Did you have no one?
I was a pretty quiet person. I was. Hey, right? Alrighty, here it goes. No.
If anybody knows my sister, they know that you're not quiet.
Yeah.
So for
you
hearing
see,
that,
this is where God transforms and changes.
Right.
This is evidence that God is real.
That's true.
Proceed.
That's true. I actually used to get bullied in junior high school. So when I stepped into high school, I was like very to myself. Okay. I was really scared. So then when a few months later, when I had a belly and I came out pregnant, I was like, oh my God, like, what do I do? But I also had like this confidence in my heart, just like, it is what it is. It was just one of those moments. Thankfully, the small group of friends that I had, they supported me.
That's good.
So I'm very, very grateful for that. I made sure that whoever was in my corner was very sacred. And I kind of to this day, I've always been that way.
Yeah. And that's good. I mean, that's normal.
It is. I feel like a lot of your past kind of, it really does. And it allows you to kind of become who you're going to be today. But it wasn't a bad experience. it really was the mindset.
Right.
It was really my own mind telling me all of these things because my surroundings were okay, but I would never forget my parents' reaction. Like that, my mom was so upset, and the first thing she said was, "You're not gonna have an abortion." That was the first thing she told me. "You're gonna deal with it. You did this, and it is what it is." But I had already made my decision prior that I wasn't going to do that.
Okay.
But she was like very like straightforward, and that didn't even hurt me. My mom cried. It didn't hurt me. I was like, okay, I'll accept it. But my dad looked at me and walked away.
Wow.
Oof, it's bringing me back. But that was hard because I didn't want to disappoint them. And when you're young, you know, you make mistakes and you're already carrying the burden of your own mistakes. And then when you see the people that you love can't even cope with it or take it or understand it, it's really hard because it's kind of like you're disappointing everybody. You're disappointing.
In the process, you disappoint yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like you're in the middle and you're like, oh my God, wow, like what did I do?
And I think that's where the thoughts start coming in. The enemy starts taking advantage of when you're at your lowest. And you know, you've mentioned that you felt like you've hit your lowest in many points of your life. And I can only picture myself at 15 and, you know, at such a young age having to deal with that and the burden of, you know, having your dad not being able to even speak a word and just having to leave. I feel like I honestly, I'm a daddy's girl. I admit it. I am definitely a daddy's girl. And anytime that, you know, I have a little fight with my dad, like, I will be in a mood for the whole day. I'm like, I'm not going to be okay until my dad is good with me. Like, that's just how I am. So I can only, you know, imagine how you would have felt in that moment.
Oh yeah, I'm a daddy's girl too. To this day, he calls me princess.
Yeah, he does.
He does, right? I'm gonna be 34 years old this month, guys, and he still calls me princess. Like I've always had a great bond with my dad.
He's chill.
He's very chill. He's like the one that really raised the standard on who I am, what to expect, what to accept. From guys or just like or being in a relationship and things like that. Like he's really set a great foundation and a great structure for us. So when he was at that point, that was one of the most challenging times. But after that, and you know, days started to pass and all of those things, then you know, it was like, okay, well, I'm pregnant. I was still embarrassed though.
Yeah.
I still felt embarrassed. Yeah. In school, I ended up actually leaving. I actually had a friend who was about 4 months pregnant more than me.
Okay.
She was, in
the same grade?
She was a year. She was a year older than me. So I was in the 9th, she was in the 10th. Okay. And so we kind of like hung out together. But a lot of people in the class, you know how when you're in the classroom and you're like running to your next class, like nobody really respected me in that sense. Like people would like tug me or push me. And I didn't know if it was on purpose or just because they were really, really eager to go to class, which I highly thought that was the case.
I don't think anyone to get to go to class.
Right. So I'm not sure. But little by little, I started like noticing these things that made me uncomfortable. And I ended up dropping out. I dropped out the 9th grade. So I ended up getting my GED though. I have 3 years into my to a university, and I'm an entrepreneur. So like, you know, sometimes, you know, life gives you a different route. That's just, I wouldn't recommend it, but that's kind of like, I was so scared that I ended up quitting.
It's really, that's really beautiful that I want to talk about is the fact that you were able to still speak to mom and dad and like, be like, this is what happened.
Own up to it.
And be like, hey, like, what are we going to do? Because there's so many young people that are so afraid to talk to their parents about anything.
Yeah.
Like, and I think sometimes as parents, I'm not a dad, but I don't want to put so much pressure on my child where they feel like they can't talk to me.
I agree.
That's like, because you're a prisoner in a cell. Like, you really can't. I have this person that's supposed to be there for me and I can't talk to them because I feel like I'm going to disappoint them.
Right.
you know. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's great that mom and dad were like, we're gonna deal with this. I wish that a lot of more parents were that, not flexible, but were that eager to help their child. Because at the end of the day, we're human beings too. We're not as old as you. You know, we don't have the experience. But I know countless kids that come up to me and they talk to me about stuff, and I'm like, you should talk to your parents about this. Like, it's something serious, and they're like, no, I don't want to, because like either.
More like I feel like it's more of a I can't. That's what
Some kids even feel like their parents are just, they just think they're crazy, or like they're just not gonna care, or like my parent is just gonna tell me you just need to go pray, and like those are good solutions, but sometimes you gotta talk about, you did this to me, you said this to me when I was like 3 years old, you said you were gonna come to the play, you never did. Right. You know, I remember when I was in kindergarten, I had a play, nobody showed up. I still haven't forgiven none of y'all for not showing up.
And we're going to take this moment to pray for Chris.
I wasn't there.
No, but I remember it was hurtful, you know, but there's things that, you know, that we have to talk about to get to the root of the problem, and to, I agree. You know, to present that, and like, that's why I think, you know, just talking about how you feel openly is good. A lot of parents don't want to hear, because sometimes they think since we're young, our opinion has no value, has no meaning.
I agree.
You know, so the fact that you're like, yo, mom, dad, this will happen. And they're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. You know, and it obviously took time. Yeah. Because I remember looking at pictures of them when with you when you were pregnant with Boogie. I was pregnant. And they were the happiest I've ever seen them.
They were. Eventually, they kind of like...
Legit, the happiest I've ever seen them in my life.
I mean, it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, you know, this happened. We're not proud. We're not happy. But, you know, what are you going to do? You're not going to hold that gray cloud over your head.
Exactly.
Right. It's kind of like, you know, the way God sees us. You know, he loves us all, but we all sin. But he just hates the sin, but he still loves us and is still willing to open the doors and still willing to be there as our parent and to guide us in a way. So it's very true. And actually, like... Oh, don't cry. I'm going to cry all the time. I'm such a crybaby. But, you know, it is hard to speak to your parents about certain things, or just opening up, especially when you're going through a transition from like into adulthood, and you start, you know, you're going to high school, junior high school. I've never really had that relationship with my mom, but with my dad, I did. So I feel like there's always someone, or there has to be someone in your family that you feel close enough to actually talk to someone, or go to your local church if you feel like you really don't have anybody, you know, and understand like the person that you choose, just trust that they have that good intention to give you feedback, but go to somebody. Don't just stay quiet and just try to avoid the situation, because
I know when I was younger, that person was like my brother, and then when he got a girlfriend, and like I was like, oh my God, I can see it coming. They're gonna get married. He's gonna leave me.
Oh my God.
And they got married, and like, you know, they left, and like when he left, I was like, who am I gonna talk to? Like, I have nobody.
Right.
But you know, as I started to get older, my sister's younger than me. I'm 7 years older than my sister. So imagine me, am I, you know, 7 years older than her, and she's sitting there, and I'm like going off, like, yo, can you believe this happened, and this and that, and she's just there playing with her Barbies, and I'm like, man, she ain't listening to me. But like, you know, as I got older, that bond with my parents kind of started to you know, kind of strengthen. It's like, okay, you know, my maturity's kicking in. You know, I feel like I can talk to them a little bit more. So I feel like that's something also that is built over time. And like Chris was saying, I don't want to have my kids, I don't want to be like, because I'm going to be mad at you, you know? Like, I want to be able to have my kids come over and talk to me, and, you know, just like you did, I'll be like, okay, I'm not okay with this, but I still love you, and I'm going to help you through it. And like, you know, I feel like that is a mentality that, you know, we should have. And maybe even not just as parents, maybe just as like human, just as people, because I don't think that anybody's past should be held against them. even, as years pass, or whatever, that's not something like, oh, you are what you did. No, because that's what Christ died for, to redeem us. And, I don't think it's something that just parents should do. I think it's just anyone in general should be able to forgive as Jesus forgave. And, if Christ throws our sins into the depths of the sea, then we are nobody else to, be bringing that up every chance, So I'm really glad that your parents, they saw that situation, they mourned per se, and they just picked it right back up.
Who do you talk to now when you need to express things?
My friends.
Your friends?
My parents still.
That's good. You should probably look for like a boyfriend or something.
And we're back to table talk.
I saw this coming.
Okay.
Me
Well,
too.
anyways, going back into
Love it.
the topic.
For those of those who don't know, yeah, I talked to my boyfriend.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I think it's very important, como tú dijiste, Melissa, to find someone, like you said, para encontrar a alguien para, o sea, cuando tú necesites hablar con alguien sobre algo, es muy importante sacarlo del sistema, porque si tú lo dejas embotellado, ¿verdad? Como un buen español, como un buen boricua, si tú lo dejas embotellado, eso te va a hacer muchísimo daño, no solamente emocional, pero sino también psicológico, y eso también te puede hacer daño físico.
Yep.
Después el estrés se acumula y después tú ves que tiene la cabeza como que así, que tiene el dolor de espasmo y tiene un montón de cosas. Tiene insomnia, y es por todo el estrés que estás acumulando todos los días, y más si llevas algo, ¿sabes? Un dolor que llevas adentro y no tienes con quién desahogarte, obviamente pues tú sabes, o sea, vas a tener problemas también, ¿verdad? En tu diario vivir. Se te va a hacer difícil confiar en la gente, se te va a hacer difícil tener una pareja, porque después si tienes una pareja, tú no puedes confiar en ellos. Porque tú dices, yo no confío en ellos, yo no puedo, nunca lo has hecho. Nunca lo he hecho. Y entonces, pues, yo creo que sí es muy importante encontrar a alguien. Y si tú no, pues, si tú sientes que, pues, no te sientes cómodo, ¿verdad? Abriéndote a tus padres, ¿verdad? Pues entonces, pues para eso también tenemos a nuestras amistades. Y si tú sientes que no tienes a tus amistades, ¿verdad? Pues tú sabes, tenemos un pastor, ¿verdad? Y si también, pues tú sabes, tienes a Dios, ¿verdad? Y si tú sientes que pues no has llegado a ese punto con Dios, pues ahora es el tiempo de llegar a este punto con Dios, ¿verdad? Y ¿verdad? Y también, ¿verdad? Dios ha puesto en este mundo, ¿verdad? La inteligencia y le da la herramienta para que la gente se prepare para estas situaciones. Por eso es que tenemos psicólogos hoy en día, ¿verdad? Por eso es que tenemos psicólogos, ¿verdad? Que para también nos ayuden en eso. Así que mira, tienes a tus padres, tienes a tus amigos, tienes al pastor, tienes al psicólogo. Y si de esas 4 personas no te sientes cómodo, como quiera Dios se ofrece. Desde el principio Dios se ha ofrecido. Pero si todo te ha fallado, pues te vamos a mí. Eso es lo que, pues tú sabes, lo que el Señor quería, que hiciera. ¿Verdad? So, yo creo que es muy demasiado importante, ¿verdad? Sí es importante la oración, sí es importante la lectura de la palabra, pero también nuestra salud mental. Nuestra salud mental es sumamente también importante como nuestro, ¿verdad? Como nuestro físico. De igual manera, nosotros vamos al gym a entrenar, ¿verdad? Nos tomamos nuestras proteínas, nos tomamos nuestras batidas, qué sé yo, qué sé cuánto. También es muy importante tener nuestros momentos de, pues, tú sabes, de desahogo, nuestro momento de, pues, tú sabes, de encontrar ese mental health. De eso.
And, what you were mentioning before, going through all of that, when basically all of the repercussions that you go through when you don't speak, that takes a long time to heal as well.
Yeah.
It's not just at that right now that you're not saying something. It becomes a habit, and you start doing it with a lot of things, and everything that you're scared of, you're not going to speak. And it becomes this routine in your mind, and you just keep doing it over and over, and you're affecting yourself, like you were mentioning. And that takes such a long time to heal. And it's a forever lasting journey, because even until this day, I'm still learning to be patient and to pray and to trust. And I'm still learning, like just like we work out. For instance, I would never forget. That's why listening to testimonials are important and preachings. I would never forget the pastor on a Sunday was preaching about how you should treat your spirit and your relationship with God the same way that someone works out. The same way you take care of your body, that you're giving yourself nutrition on a daily basis and you're working out on a daily basis. Through that, over time, you become stronger, just like your spiritual self. Every single day, you have to feed yourself, feed your mind. You have to pray even when you feel doubt, even when you feel depressed. You have to continue doing those things because it is a work in progress. You're for the rest of your life. It's a life battle. It's a lifetime thing.
Yeah. That's true. That's honestly true. I think that sometimes a lot of Christians, like including myself, where I've been on fire for God, so that's like the thing I dedicate all my time to. So all my free time, I'm doing everything for the Lord, and I'm not taking time to do like a chore. And then I'm misusing my time when I should be giving God my entire day. So when I do the chore, I'm doing this in your name, So that's always a gray area. But back to your part of your testimony, you at a young age, you're a young mom. You have your parents that are helping you. They already have accepted my nephew, your son, Boogie. We call him, that's his nickname, Boogie. James. And walk us through more or less after that. What's happening at this point in your life, or what is God showing you? What is He teaching you? What situations, what process or processes afterward is God taking you to form you to be the person that you are today?
That's tough. That's tough. Because I kind of blocked God out throughout that transition. I didn't allow Him to talk or anything because everything was happening so fast. And a little after I had my son, that's when my parents moved to Florida and I was in New York. So I'm 16 at the time and I'm in New York with their dad and I'm living with him and his parents. And through that transition, we didn't work out, right? Super young. We didn't work out. So I ended up moving out because I had to. And that's kind of when my life was going like back and forth. I didn't know where to stay. I didn't know where to go. Do I come to Florida? Do I take him? Like there was a lot of battles that I went through and I'm being 100%, I never asked God for guidance. I took everything into my own hands because I felt like I had to and I had to make these decisions and I couldn't wait. Because what if God didn't answer me fast enough and like tomorrow I have to leave, and I started to become a little impatient. And through that, my life kind of started trickling down because then that's when I became homeless and I was making wrong decisions and I was hanging out with a crowd that wasn't benefiting or serving me, but yet taking me further and further away from where I know that God had wanted me. And through those decisions, little by little, I was falling more into the depression and I didn't have my parents around. So I'm like 17, 18 at the time. Nobody to look up to or to ask questions or have somebody that was relatable to me that could have been like, hey, like, what would you do in this situation? I would literally just wasted years trying to figure it out on my own. And I'd have to say that was the worst years of my life. I was in and out of jail. I was literally just hanging out until 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning because I had nothing. I felt like I had no purpose. My son was staying with his grandparents at the time because he was going to school. I wanted him secure. And he had this beautiful life. And then my parents left. And these are things, again, going back to your mindset. I kept thinking I wasn't good enough. Like, okay, well, my parents are good without me. They're in Florida. My son is good. He's stable. I'm not stable. I have no purpose. I'm kind of just hopping around from place to place. I don't have a place to live. I'm kind of just living day by day. I have no money in my pocket. I don't know how I'm going to feed myself. So little by little, things got worse for me. Every day things just got worse. And it just became a cycle for years. Mm-hmm. That's really like where I was for a good maybe 8 to 10 years.
And when do you think, was there a moment in your life that cycle ended, where you can think back and say, this moment impacted me, this situation impacted me, and all of that ceased, all of it stopped?
Yes. Oh my God, I will never forget this day. I can't believe I'm going to share this, by the way. So, Mom, sorry. But it was actually a moment where I was good. I worked in hospitality. I had a great job, I was just doing my thing, and my lights cut off. I started to get depressed again because everything that happened in my life, going back to what we were talking about, the repetition, I would just kind of drink and stuff like that at home when I got stressed out. And with that, I would never forget the moment that I thought a lot. Like, it was a misery moment in my life. And I just sat there and I'm like, I am literally, everything just keeps tumbling down. I felt like I was just made here to become a mistake. And I kept telling myself that over and over, like, why am I here? Why am I in this moment where I'm just living to suffer? That was literally my life and the lies that I kept telling myself. And that moment I drove. So I was drinking and driving, and I made it. I don't remember though, by the way. I got to the stoplight, and a cop banged on my door with the flashlight. And he went like this to me, and I remember I looked at him and I pulled down my window, and he said, "Are you okay?" And at that moment I cried to him, and I told him that I wasn't. Remember, I got locked up a lot of times because I used to argue with cops. I was literally that disrespectful. I had I did not care of any authority in no way, shape, or form. And when he asked me that, he told me, get out the car. And he just looked at me kind of like sad in a way. And that reflection was like, wow, I can't believe this is like where I'm at right now in my life. And at that moment, he made me do the test. I totally failed. Totally failed. And I actually stopped, but the key was in the ignition, which is why I got arrested. And I was literally maybe half a mile from my house. And where I was about, I want to say about 10 miles. I drove all of that drunk to end up right near my house for that cop to stop me. And I got arrested. And at that moment, he was like, "Are you okay?" And like, really, he was so sweet. And he seemed like he was so concerned. And that allowed me to open my eyes like, wow, there's something that he sees that I'm feeling. And at that moment, that was the moment that I was like, I won't ever do this again. Like, what if I killed somebody? What if I died? What if I end up injuring someone? That guilt, like I would have walked with that guilt my whole life. And I was literally like putting my life out of balance. I just didn't care. I didn't care about my life. I didn't. But it wasn't until that officer, who was so sweet, and I will never forget him. And with him, he was the one that was telling me like, why are you going through this? Like, just talk. And I talked and I cried. And it was a good reflection for me. And that next day, I was supposed to go to jail, guys, for 7 years. I was supposed to get arrested for 7 years because I was about 5 times over the limit that night. And I had to pay for a lawyer. And that lawyer cost about $12,000 to help me not go to jail. And through the courts, they paid. I don't know how. Those are things that I just leave it. And it was paid for. And I walked away with 2 years probation. And I never did it again. I was like, and that was the day. That was that night that I was like, I've had enough. And I started changing my life into health and fitness. And years went on, and I'm just getting better and better every single day.
There's one of my favorite authors. He, in one of his books, 12 Rules for Life, he writes, don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And that's how you become a better version of yourself every day. And that's how you can fulfill the potential that God's given you. And it's beautiful, the fact that you're able to come to your senses and say, I don't want this anymore. So many people that they go through similar experiences and they still are rebellious enough to be like, I'm not going to go back to you. God, I'm not going to go back to you. I've been in moments where I'm like, God, I refuse to go through this process because it hurts too much. You're going to have to handle it because I'm not dealing with it. And it's good that you're able to recognize and humble yourself and say, God, I'm done with this. And it's a testament to see how far you've come. Because I remember growing up, I would always think, because I've always been closer with you, always. But I would always have some type of worry of where you were. I wonder how she's doing. I want her to be safe. And it's for me to see where you are now, how far you've come, to being by yourself, isolated, depressed. 2 beautiful kids, even though they're annoying. 3, because Boogie's a whole man. He's like basically my age. To see how far you've come is something beautiful. And it gives me hope that people that are out there in the world struggling, going through same experience or something worse, can come to Christ. And I think that's why it's important for us to share our testimonies, not just the surface, the thing that we tell everybody, where we say, I'm depressed. What is the reason why you're depressed? That's what we have to tackle. And that's a lot of things. That's something we don't do now in the 21st century. We don't want people knowing our business. That's just how we are. But I congratulate you, just how far you've come in your life, how far you've come in your walk with Christ, which is most important. And just keep on moving forward. Because I know that, God has plans. But one thing that you said that really stuck out is that you said that you were with a group of friends and you still felt lonely. And I can't express enough how many times I've been there. How many times, I remember one time I went to downtown Disney and I had the car full of people. Like, I'm blasting music, I'm driving really fast. Like, there's like legit people are on top of one another in the back seat.
No.
And
he's not gonna go to jail.
And no,
they were not sitting on top of each other.
And
they were 3 in the back,
like,
and that's
we're in
it.
Public audience right now, Chris. Leave this for the private.
You got to be transparent. And I remember driving, and I remember thinking to myself, like, the music just tuned out, and I remember thinking to myself, why do I feel so lonely? I have people in the car, and I feel this way, and it's because we try to solve something that's internal with something that's external. We try to solve the problem that we have inside with friends. Some people use drugs. People go to alcohol. People, they go to different things to fill that void. And it's beautiful that you recognized in your life that you needed to fill that void with God. And that's something that, honestly, it's beautiful to see. It's beautiful to see because that's something that takes humility, which a lot of people don't project. And it shows that you depend on Him. And it shows how mature you have gotten. Because being a young mom at that age, you grew up real quick. Yes. And that correlates to your spiritual life now, how mature and how much you've progressed.
I want to fast forward now to, I believe it was last Sunday. You want to talk about that?
Explain what happened last Sunday.
I'm just gonna share that I was crying my eyes out looking at her. That's all I'm gonna say. Yes. And she's gonna take over.
I was taking pictures and I was trying so hard to fight back the tears, and then I couldn't, and then I just started crying.
You know what? I've known Melly, I think, almost 3 years, maybe more now. Because you didn't even have Emma.
No, I didn't have Emma.
It's probably more. And I've seen how you've been throughout these years, and throughout the years we've gone closer. And we established a friendship, and we've had heart-to-hearts, and seeing you grow from, I'm gonna cry, I'm a crier, guys. Oh my gosh. From where you've been to being able to witness you on Sunday, like, I don't think I can explain how overjoyed my heart felt. And then seeing the kids, like, especially Liam, when I was like, hey, look, it's mommy. And he literally was like praying for you. And like, I'm like, from seeing how, how they were and how all of you were to seeing how you are now and how much you've grown and how much you're doing now and how many doors are opening. And sometimes literally seeing you, I was like, thank you, Jesus. Like, this is just something that I prayed for. Like, thank you so much. And I know as soon as, like, you were done, I ran to the bathroom and I was like, Millie, congratulations.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you could take over and talk about that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm such a crybaby. Nothing. So I got baptized on Sunday.
Round of applause.
Yay! It was so scary. My heart was jumping more than what my heart is feeling now. I was so nervous. I think because I didn't know what to expect. And there were a lot of mentors. Thank God for this church here, because I have great people by my side who has been like talking to me, like, even for us, and you're always there to like help me and guide me. And it's those people that surround you that really help you make an impact in your own life, and they see things that you don't see.
Yeah.
And because of that, the seed started to get planted, and I'm like, man, I would love to get baptized one day. And it was 2 years ago that I wanted to get baptized. I never really took the steps, though. It's just like a little thought. Those little thoughts? But you have to be careful with those little thoughts because they become very true after. And I put it on my vision board. I do a vision board every single year on what I would like to accomplish. And for 2 years, it was on my vision board. And I was like, man, why can't I get baptized? Like, it just wasn't happening for me. And eventually, I under decisions that I had to make, the sacrifices that I had to make, and really let go of everything that was holding me back from taking that step. And then allowing God to kind of re-put that back in through his way. And that was my promise. That was what I wanted. Like, okay, I'm going to let go of everything. And from this point forward, whatever it is that is planted, I know that it's from you. And that's what we're going to go with. And I let go of a lot of things. To be transparent, I even let go of a 10-year relationship that I felt like I needed to, because we weren't married. And that was one of a big reason why I wanted and I had to leave. There were just things that weren't aligning with my spiritual. And I had to choose the spiritual before anything. Mm-hmm. Because I know what that road went. I was there for a long time. And I didn't want to repeat that. So I understood, like, okay, this is what I have to do. This is what I'm going to do. And with that one decision, a week later, the pastora, our classes, you messaged me, the classes are going to start. And I was like, what? That's awesome. Like, literally, like, not even a week later. It's crazy how fast God works. He wastes no time.
When you had mentioned it to us, like, super excited. Mm-hmm. And seeing that excitement for Christ in you made me even more excited. I was like, you know what? Because there's even times where, believe it or not, like, I felt less, and I was like, I'm not in the place right now with my relationship with God, and he would actually use you to speak to me, because you always had like this, what is wrong with me? You always had this, you can do it. I see what God does with you, how he uses you, and there's very minimal people that I have in my life that actually encourage me, and that kind of pushed me to accomplish what God has in my life and the calling that he's had over me. So having someone that maybe I haven't known as long as everybody else, seeing what I couldn't see, and what's maybe people that I've had around me all for so many years didn't see, and I had you there just pushing me like, hey, there's been so many times that God's used you and it's spoken to me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. But I was like, you know what? If she sees it, just like you saw that policeman be that person for you, I think sometimes you've been that person for me, whether you've seen it or not. Yeah. And, I didn't know that. Well, now you know.
She didn't tell me those things.
And it's, I guess just going back to seeing how much, sometimes you feel like, you're worthless, but God uses you more than you know. And I know you have like this big, platform, and I don't think I've talked to Chris about it. I know I talked to somebody. Maybe it was God. Probably was God. Because I was thinking, I was like, you know what? She has this big platform, and like she can share her testimony with so many people, and so many people would be impacted. And like just that can be your ministry. Like the same thing that we're doing here, you can use the platform that you have to speak to so many people. And I know that you do that. Throughout her fitness, she encourages people, not just spiritually. I mean, not just physically, but like spiritually. And sometimes I'll read what she writes. I'm like, yes, Melly, yes. I mean, you know what? She got this. And I just love seeing how God shines through you in so many ways.
Reading your post makes me want to go pray and go work out.
Legit. I'll be praying. I'll work out while I pray. I'm just like, yes, Jesus, in your name. I'm raising these weights in your name.
The strength of Samsung.
Oh my God. Oh, thank you.
I think it's true what Crystal says. I believe that 100% that God blesses what you've prepared for, and you've been preparing yourself for this, and you've been working at this. And I think that He's blessed you. He's blessed your hands to reach a whole bunch of people. Honestly, we never would have thought that we would still be here with this show. Honestly,
Season 2? What?
When Jadiel approached us about this idea, I honestly thought this was only going to be a show until pandemic was over, or for like until summer, where a lot of youth are just out and about traveling, and then that's it. And we're here now, and your message is impacting a lot of people. So I think that God has prepared you. He's blessed you to, impact the lives of other people.
And I know, I'm sorry.
No.
I want to say, I know that you got baptized last Sunday. You were supposed to get baptized the Sunday before. And I know that was something really discouraging for you. And I was when I found out that they had pushed it back, I was like, Melly, I was like, you had already talked to me how you felt like, maybe I shouldn't go through with this, and like the enemy was attacking you hard that week. And then, that got pushed back, and I was like, I gotta pray for her even more. And I was like, the enemy is a liar. But I was really happy to see you get baptized.
Yeah, the enemy loves me.
But you know what? Jesus loves you more.
That's right. Yeah, he only loves you when something beautiful is manifesting that God is working on.
Melissa, real quick, we jumped from your childhood, you being a teenager, to you being an adult woman now. What is one thing you can say that you're most happy of?
That's going to take me a long time.
You have like 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Insert Jeopardy music.
Right? Ask that question again.
We've listened to your testimony. Currently, what's one thing that you're happiest with, you're most content with?
Wow.
I can answer that. It's me, your brother. I know.
It is.
I love you, Melissa.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Actually, I'm happy for a lot of things. I'm happy for my faith, and I'm happy for where I am. I'm just happy overall within myself for overcoming the things that I have overcame. But one of the things that I'm truly, truly grateful for is legit my family. You guys have no idea. The moments when I wanted to burst, me and my brother are very close. I tell him everything, even though I'm the oldest one. But I tell him everything, and he's my confidant, my ride or die. And I'm really grateful for you and our friendship. And the relationship that we've been able to build over the last few years has meant the world to me.
I'm not going to cry on camera.
You'll cry after.
As soon as we finish this, I'm going to burst. My eyes are going to... But I love you. Thank you for being on the show.
Yes.
I honestly, guys, we hope that my sister's testimony impacted your life. If it has, please share it. Please share it to your friends, your family. We hope if you're listening, tell your friends about the show. We want this message of a personal message of Christ to impact your life. So please share, please like, subscribe. And we will be back with next week's
Next
episode
Friday.
next Friday at 1 p.m.
12 p.m. to 1
12.
p.m. We still need to catch him up on the dates.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Bueno, ya dijeron todo.
But yes.
Pero ya nos vamos, ¿verdad? Y, ¿verdad? Como ellos dijeron, lo esperamos el viernes que viene, ¿verdad? Y si el testimonio de ella, ¿verdad? Que yo personalmente no lo sabía, ¿verdad? Que es la primera vez que yo lo estoy escuchando, ¿verdad? Y le damos la gloria y honra al Señor. Por ese fresh start que yo estaba predicando los otros días sobre eso, por ese fresh start que ella hizo en su vida, y ella puso sus prioridades. Ella dijo, ok, yo tengo que cambiar aquí porque esto está lo loco. Pero nada, si este testimonio lo ha impactado a ustedes, ¿verdad? Les invitamos que los comparta con sus amigos, con sus amistades, con sus familiares, con cualquier persona que ustedes quiere compartirlo. Comparta, porque como ustedes han sido ministrados, ellos, como nosotros también hemos sido ministrados, ellos también van a ser ministrados. ¿Verdad? Así que le damos una gracia, ¿verdad? Con nosotros por ese testimonio que yo no lo sabía, ¿verdad? Y me regocijo de escuchar eso, ¿verdad? Y lo importante de tener nuestras prioridades, ni lo importante, ¿verdad? De saber nuestro norte, que nuestro norte es el Señor. Así que volvemos y repetimos, los invitamos el viernes de la semana que viene de 12 de la tarde a 1 de la tarde con nuestro episodio de Table Talk. Once again, thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Y nos veremos la semana que viene. Que Dios les bendiga y que el Señor les guarde.
God bless you.
God bless you
Bye.
guys.
God bless you guys. Dios les bendiga a todos. Le queremos dar las gracias a todos ustedes que nos apoyan. Gracias por su cariño, gracias por su amor, que nos apoyan y comparten nuestro contenido cada viernes que nos unimos con ustedes. Le queremos dar las gracias y esperamos que nuestro contenido ha sido de bendición para cada uno de ustedes.
We also want to let you guys know that we did TG Table Talks. You guys can if you guys want to email us and reach out to us regardless of what it's about. So yeah, you guys can find us there, follow us, and keep sharing our content.
And also, if you missed last week's episode or just want to rewatch any of the previous ones, you could search us up on YouTube under IDPMI ST Cloud FL.
See you next Friday.
We hope to see you there.
God bless you guys. Dios les bendiga a todos. Le queremos dar las gracias a todos ustedes que nos apoyan. Gracias por su cariño, gracias por su amor, que nos